Welcome to another edition of the Artist Block Podcast. I'm your host, Ratisha Schuler, and today we have a very interesting and unique, intriguing guest, and I'm very excited to interview today. He started out as a photographer, migrated into filmmaking, and now he is a multi-talented content creator and media consultant. So, welcome to the show, Theron Smith.
Peace
yeah,
in my New York accent.
yeah. So, like I said, I'm very excited for you to be here today.
Thank you. This is a long
Yeah.
time coming. You know what I
Right.
mean? We've been talking about sitting down for a minute, so
Right.
we here.
Yes. When we first met initially, your vibe and your swag. I mean, you got the New York thing going. You know what I'm saying? Brooklyn, particularly. You know what I'm saying? Because each borough that I've met has a different swagger.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah.
It does.
But yeah, I just thought you were a very cool cat, and you had a lot of interesting stories because you were around during what I consider the golden age of hip hop. I know people say the golden age of hip hop was like the 80s, early 90s, but you were like there in the 90s and 2000s with the hip hop artists that I grew up like really recognizing and loving, you know. And one thing stood out to me in particular is that my favorite music video of all time is Biggie's One More Chance.
Okay.
And you were on that set, and that was just like the dopest thing.
And I was Biggie's
ever.
PA on that.
You was Biggie's PA on it?
Yeah.
That was just the dopest thing. I love that music video. And it's such a simple concept, but the reason I loved it is because he had everybody who was somebody during that time in that video. It was
I
the
could
dopest
tell you
thing
the
ever.
whole story on that.
Yeah.
I was there from the beginning. I think that was one of Puff's first videos that he was directing too. He might have did one, but so he was directing it. So when I got hired as a PA, a production assistant, we don't get deep into film.
Right.
But when I got hired as a production assistant, my assignment was to drive, do a lot of the pickups and things like that. Not really more the administrative stuff. So I was getting like the TV track that was gonna play as playback, running around going to Bad Boy. I saw Faith in the office walking around working at the copy machine, so walking amongst that and then going on scouts with Puff and checking the brownstone out, seeing how his directorial process was all this stuff was a blessing. I call it a blessing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because experiences and moments that you have a chance to be in. I have pictures for all of this.
Yes.
Pictures. Me, Mary, everybody, Heavy D and all that. That was an ill day.
Yeah. And I was going to talk about this later on, but since you brought this up, I want to kind of connect it because another dope thing about you is one day we were talking and you said we were talking about the elements of hip hop. So the 4 elements of hip hop is dance, graffiti, the DJ, and the MC. And he was like, but it's the fifth element, which was the lens.
Well, the fifth element technically is knowledge. Okay. And that's from Africa Bambaataa. But I was saying, all right, so I have a whole thing that I advocate. I'm an advocate of a lot of different things, but I said the lens should be the sixth element of hip hop, and there's a reason behind that. Never mind, metaphorically going out to the lens of our eyes and the whole thing, how we take in the culture, write it in our brains and the whole thing, but we would not have seen the culture, seen how they dance, what they wore, how they move, how they sound, if it wasn't for the videographers and the photographers at that time. You know what I'm saying? So why is the lens not just as prominent as the DJ needle or the Puma sneaker or the graffiti can when you talk about the elements of the culture? You subtract the visuals of it and the pictures and the stills or you subtract all of that. Would the culture have thrived the way that it did?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm an advocate for that. Talk to KRS about it. He's down. There's video of that.
Yeah.
Talk to everybody I ever met, even down to Ralph McDaniels and people like that. And they all agree.
Yeah.
So my whole thing was, I have all these pioneers agreeing, but we have no counsel or no place to take. I have, like, as a lawyer, I have no place to take my evidence to the council to get approval and get the stamp. And these are conversations that I'm having right as we speak behind the scenes with a bunch of people. So something's going to come out of that.
Right. I mean, I can see so many things. For one, the book, because you have all those photographs that you personally took, but just, documenting that process, the culture anyway. But I mean, so many things. Like that could be like a docuseries, it could be a podcast, it could be many things, man. That
So
is
I've been the
ingenious.
book is coming.
Yeah. So yeah, talk to us about how you got started. What was the beginning of this journey?
I mean, I would say it came from my father giving me the camera at 9. I don't want to go like so far back. I jump ahead, but like father giving me the camera at 9, and I think just seeing him and my mother do their hobbies, but do it well. Like my mother's paints, that was one of her hobbies. She was a seamstress too. But most importantly, seeing my pops, and he was in the same house, but when I would go stay with him, he made his bathroom into a dark room. You know what I mean? So I witnessed what that process is of having to do this and chemical that, wash it with this and put it up, and doing all, and getting the film out the canisters and the whole thing. So
he was a photographer, or just
he still
enjoyed doing it. Yeah.
He did it professionally. He traveled, but I think it wasn't his main thing. It was one of the things he did that was his main love, but so he just passed it on to me, and then over time my step pops and my grandfather put the video cameras in my hands, so went from photography to motion photography. And
I like you call that motion photography, but we ain't gonna get that deep into it.
It's motion photography.
It is motion photography.
30 frames, 29 frames, 24, whatever. Yeah. But so, and then fast forward, high school, East New York, Brooklyn. First little kid walking around with a video camera in 1990, 91. Nobody ever saw shit like that. Yeah. Saw stuff like that. But
it's okay. You can live your life up here.
Okay, good. So so shooting my talent shows and shooting stuff around school, and then 91 when I right out of graduation, 17 going into 18. My first thing I ever shot was Foo Schnickens. I went on tour with Foo Schnickens.
Who is Foo Schnickens?
La Smooth. So they was a rap group out at the time, and two dudes that I went to high school with, Jimmy and James Warren, peace y'all.
Yeah.
They had a little group, and they went on tour with them. So I was known to have the camera. You know what I'm saying? So they brought me on tour, and that was my first little thing. It wasn't like a big old tour or whatever, like Massachusetts, and then came back down to New York. But that was right out of high school, and then right after high school, just being around, New York scene at the time, 1991, Tribe is happening, everything is going on, and so I just get myself in the mix, young, being able to go out to these spots and go into the clubs and things like that, and the tunnels or whatever. And then 92, I was working at a sneaker store in East New York, and Dr. Dre, Ed Lover and Dr. Dre.
Yeah, I was gonna ask which Dr. Dre.
Yeah, Ed Lover and Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre, they were on the radio at the time. Hot 90, was Hot 97? Yeah, talking about 91, 92. And so the sneaker store I worked at, they bought advertisements there on that radio station. So, the hookups and all that. Dr. Dre came through to the store to get whatever sneakers, whatever the owner was gonna, hook him up with. And that day, I remember he bought Regina King with him.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like just random, but he had Regina King with him. Yeah. I saw beautiful eyes, man. Yeah. So I met her, cool. But he was talking about the movie they were doing at the time, which was Who's the Man? And so I was like, yeah, what's up? Can I get involved somehow? Whatever. So he, hooked it up, man, and called the extras casting, got me in there in the extras casting. So it's a couple of scenes I'm in.
That is so dope.
A number of things that just kind of happen, however they happen, mathematically, universally, whatever, just tied into having me in these rooms at the right places at the right time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of it came to me. So that's how I know, I'm supposed to be doing something here. You know what I mean? Because just haphazardly just getting into films and meeting certain people, getting into certain rooms with people that I didn't have any intentions for.
Yeah.
Something bigger is working here.
Yeah. That's something I was going to ask to tie into that. Was that your focus when you got out of high school? Was it like, I like this, I'm about to focus on doing this, or just it just kept happening to you, and after a while I was like, the universe is talking to me right now?
Yeah, it in hindsight, it was just all the universe just putting the carrot in front of me. Cause when I left high school, I knew I was into film and stuff like that, but wasn't into film where I saw a path that I could have got into it. There's very few, we talk about 1990, 91, there's very few opportunities for black people to get into the business, period. We ain't just talking about directors and editors. We talking about the whole gamut of crews and gaffers and grips and all of that other stuff, unions and all that. It wasn't so easy for us to get into. So when Spike came into the game, he's an exodus. I keep saying that to this day. I mean, the range of us in the industry now has vast, and we have so many outlets and all that. But you talk about 90s to the early millennia.
Yeah.
It was very hard as a black person to get in, especially a Brooklyn kid from East New York. You know what I mean? Nevertheless, to find my way into these spots. So Spike was an exodus, and
why do you keep saying that real quick though? Exodus. What do you mean by that?
Because at one point, I don't have the actual data, but I, having been in the industry at one point in the 90s, a good 65, 75% of black people that were in the industry came through Spike.
That's true. I mean, I don't know the data, but I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, they came in somehow through Spike, working. Now, I'm not even talking about just the actors, which still is vast in itself. I'm talking about the grip people and the best boys and the audio guy and the prop master, that these people that never would have had these positions if Spike didn't hold firm when he first said it. And I said he said he needed black people on his crew. You know what I'm saying? So that opened up a lot. We were in New York, golden era. Like you said, that golden era hip hop. I consider that the golden era of New York cinema at that time frame, that I was really deep in, working with Spike and working with Hype and Hype Williams and
another one I love.
We would have to do this in categories.
Yeah.
Because I have worked in, and we jumping all over the place. But
it's
anyway,
all good.
I had worked in film. I worked in television. Worked in the music video world. I was a casting director on a lot of videos and stuff. But that also put me in the publishing world with the Double XLs and the Source magazines and all that. Put me in radio because I was up at, Kiss and 90 Power 105 with Envy when I was working with Envy, and so I'm just I've been in all these rooms of all categories. So you know what I mean? Film did that for me.
Which one did you like the most, and why, in comparison to the others? Because they are all different. I think when you don't understand it, you lump them together, but they are all very different.
I think, and not too many people are in the television business. Specifically, I'll just be specific to what I've done, like hip hop television. Very few of us are in that business. There's tons of people in record labels and that and that, but in the business of television, getting into cable buildings and Viacoms and all that other stuff, there's very few of us in there. And I think that part of my 30 years this year was the most interesting period of time, most definitely.
Why?
Because I was producing. And so I got into television. My first producing gig was Rap City on BET.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? So from there, and then Sucker Free at MTV, and then while I was at MTV, I was able to bring Yo MTV Raps back. So I was able to put my name on all the legacy hip hop television brands. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
And shout out to Ralph McDaniels too. You know what I'm saying? He's an OG. We talk, and I'm trying to bring him into this conversation about the lens more, because he is like the cool hurt of this thing,
Yeah, I do know.
But we getting all over the place.
But it's okay. We're bringing it back. So that's very interesting. And with that, you've occupied many positions because you've been
Yeah.
behind the lens as a
Mhm.
videographer, photographer. You've been a producer.
Been in front of the
You've
lens.
been in front of the lens.
Yeah.
Which component do you like working in the most?
They all have their interests, because even acting, I'm not sitting here like I'm some gifted actor, but the little pieces and things that I've done working with Spike, acting is its own craft, own universe, just like editing is, just like cinematography is. You know what I mean? Even just props and stuff, which is crazy. We talk about that other thing that happened this week, but so but I'ma always be a director at heart.
Okay.
I'ma always be a director at heart. I'ma always be a cinematographer at heart.
Okay.
So those two things will always intertwine with each other. I have lately been doing a lot of editing. Just because it just fits better with what I'm, gives me more time to do other things. Like I said, when you're dealing with, councilmen from other states and this organization in New York and this and that, the time to really focus on building creative projects is not as much as, like making moves happen and stuff like that. But,
right.
Directing and cinematography. I like directing more than cinematography, even though I could be good at either.
Okay, what do you feel like are key components to both? The key components to being a director and the key component to being a cinematographer? Because I want to preference it with this. I feel like I'm the most gifted at editing, or I enjoy it the most. And I can edit some things now. You know what I'm saying? And by default, I've become a better cinematographer because when I was getting out of school, in particular, when I came back to North Carolina, it wasn't many Black women who could be cinematographers. So by default, I was getting a lot of gigs off of that because people were like, I want to work with a woman, or I want to work with a Black person, and everything else is coming. I feel like right now on my path, I'm moving towards producing more, but bringing it all back, I feel like directing is something I can do because I was taught that you got to do everything because you're Black and you never know how you're going to get into the industry. But I don't know if I necessarily connect, because directing is hard, like to psychologically manipulate somebody or guide them in a way that they are becoming another person. Like, first of all, I feel like you have to have a bunch of wisdom and knowledge of life yourself before you can even pull that out of somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So
that's why a lot of the older directors do more mature, more things. To answer your question, how many you said? You said a couple of points.
Go ahead.
Details, as a director or a cinematographer, anything, is always kind of key to adding texture to whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, now there's red, but okay, beyond red, this is silk or this is cotton. So now your texture is different. Getting into the deep muck and mire, all that stuff is very important. Not just shooting red, but being, what kind of red.
What kind of red?
What
right.
kind of red?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I had worked with Chris Robinson in the
Love
past.
him as well.
Yeah,
So
Chris is one of the dopest dudes. Him and Dave Chappelle, like one of the coolest, laid back, real, genuine, hearted people.
Yeah.
That I have witnessed in the industry. But
and he's a music video director, and he's done films too.
He did ATL,
but he started out as a music video director. Yeah,
he did. I'm sure he did some of these episodes of one of the shows that's up. But I brought his name up just to say, working with him one time early on in my PA days, I worked as a PA on videos, and that was early on. But then I wound up being a casting director for a couple of his videos. But anyway, he sent me out as a PA to get the color red, and then but like that one thing about going and getting the color and getting 5 options of red, and then when I bought the swatches and all the other stuff back, and we going through them, just how he went, like he spent a good amount of time on these 5 reds. You understand what I'm saying? And seeing that detail is what gave me a standard. You get what I'm saying? So it gave me a standard, and then just being able to see a lot of the dudes that was at the top of it, like I said, the Hypes and Spike Lee's, and I even worked with Spielberg at one point. You know what I mean? Just seeing them that level and whatever, you can't kind of come back
Right.
from that when
Right.
you've seen that. So
So
that's but
details.
because that the details says maturity to me.
I dig that.
You get
It
what I'm
does.
saying? The details, how you put details in something that says maturity.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, another thing is heart. You know, understand what the heart is of whatever it is you're doing. You're doing this painting, you're doing this video, you're doing all this other stuff. You know, are you making something for easy, quick consumption like a microwave or you an oven? You know what I mean? Like
I like that.
you gonna let your art simmer a little bit, take a little bit longer, but it's gonna stay hotter longer. Your microwave is whatever. Yeah. So, you know, that's heart.
Yeah, I like that.
Mind. I'm just going through body parts at this
yes.
point, but mind, you know what I mean? Who are you talking to? You know what I mean? Like, who are you talking to at this point? Like, when you go into these things with an intent, who are you talking to? You know what I mean? Are you talking to this bunch of 1,000 people? Are you talking to these millions of people? You talking to these 10 people? You know, going into it, knowing who you're talking to and directing your message directly to that, because you can't come out and just 1 million people know who you are in 5 boosted videos. You get what I'm saying? Like, you got to work that, and then you got to turn that 50 people, excuse me, cut. You got to turn that 50 people into 100 people.
Right.
Turn 100 people to 1,000.
Right.
Those 1,000 to turn into 2,000.
Yeah.
You know, now, the more numbers, the easier it is.
Yeah.
So, you know, I tell artists that all the time.
Yeah.
It don't matter what you're doing. You painting, you directing, you videoing, or whatever you're doing. Understand that fan base.
Yeah. I wanted to add to that real quick too, because that's what, you know, and I feel like that deals with understanding the business side of it, because you know, depending upon what you're trying to do with your piece, and also is one of the things that, you know, people talk about Tyler Perry, but he understands his audience.
Yeah.
He does. That's it. That's the key for him. He understands his audience.
The other day.
Do I want to get into a Tyler Perry?
We don't have to get into a Tyler Perry debate. I
because there's so many sides of that.
Speak your piece on it, and I'm gonna speak my piece on it.
I could, you know, coming from the industry that I come from, I know the behind the scenes of all this stuff, what it takes to make things happen. You know, I mean, it has to be acknowledged that the man is a genius and that he has created something we have never witnessed or seen in our lives. You understand what I'm saying? To the benefit of all of us filmmakers or whatever.
Right.
With that being said, I just wish he put more attention towards his details.
Ooh.
That's the best way I put it.
I feel that.
You get what I'm saying? You know, he ain't required, he ain't got to do nothing for nobody. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, as a filmmaker, I'm just making an artistic plea. You know, just you know, I'm not saying this maliciously. I'm just saying, like,
no, it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
The level that you at, allow some more art, you know, detail in the wigs and you know, the stuff, because I think when you get to a certain point, you're looking for quantity,
right?
You're not looking for as much quality. And I seen an interview that he had did where it gave me that impression where, like, he's like, look, I ain't got time for that. I need this thing out by this time,
because he's a businessman.
So you can't hate that either. I'm just 2 sides of the coin. I'm a Libra. I got scale. But so my one side is like, you know, the man's a genius. He should get all the praise that he gets. And the other side is just, I want to see him be a better filmmaker.
Yeah, I dig
After
that.
all these movies, all these years, you have access to all this great talent, Oscar-winning talent, and all this other stuff. I would just like to see them utilized to their fullest when you have that opportunity of having them.
Yeah, I dig that.
And that should be fair as a fan of cinema. And
I think it's fair.
Yeah.
Because you put respect on the name. You know what I'm saying? And I think for me, that's what's important when it comes to Tyler Perry. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember the come up. Like, I remember I was in college and I came home. My friend was like, we got these plays. This guy named Tyler Perry. You got to watch these plays.
I was watching
the plays, the DVDs, and they were bootleg. You know what I'm saying? And then seeing him with the first film, the second film. Because my favorite film actually is Family Reunion. Tyler Perry's from Reunion, and I do like Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
Mhm.
Oh, I take that back. My favorite film is Why Did I Get Married?
Okay.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I feel like he hit something with Why Did I Get Married?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I feel like he hit something with Why Did I Get Married.
Yeah.
But I agree. And because when I was in grad school, it was like a huge debate. I don't know what film was out then, but it was a huge debate. I think that's when him and Spike had like a little beef at that moment. And, you know, people who with Spike is a scholar. He's a professor. He went to NYU. He went to Morehouse, you know, and Tyler is a businessman. And I feel like when you recognize that he is a businessman, then you understand why he moves the way he moves. But I agree with what you're saying in terms of the details. Sometimes it is funny when you see, like, you know what I'm saying?
And I'm going to add to your quick
go ahead.
real quick. And I'm
go
not,
ahead.
you know, not to stop your flow, but it's the artist and the hustler. You understand? This is the dynamic we all as artists deal with. The artist and the hustler. You know, the artist is gonna do their project, take their time, feel it, put their heart in it, all that other stuff, and take 2 months on whatever project it is. Whereas the hustler in that 2 months put out 5 projects.
Right.
Now they're not the best artistically or whatever, but he gained the audience 5 projects deeper.
It was the consistency.
You know what I'm saying? So look, it's what Master P, you know, and I'm not saying, you know, whatever, but you know, he wasn't the best lyricist at the time. We can all agree to that. So I'm saying he came out and just did his thing. He didn't care. He put his tracks out, sold his joints out, his cars and all that, made his money and all that.
Yeah.
You know, being a producer is what I like. And when I say TV is probably because producing, you have way more vast control of doing different things, not just directorial. But so, you know, that artist hustler thing is what we battle. And if you can find a good equilibrium between art and commerce, then you can, you know, that's the mid range that you want to be at, you know, because you can sustain yourself for a longer period of time if you could find that equilibrium,
that balance, right?
You know what I mean?
That's part something else. I'm gonna just complete that Tyler Perry note. It's all good. I like what you said in terms of the details. I would just like to see him give other creatives opportunities. Like, he puts a lot of people on, but like, let other people write the shows and produce other people's stuff that you're not necessarily touching any type of creative capacity. It's more so you giving them support to bring their vision forward. I would like to see that, which I feel like he will eventually, because
I mean,
he's
got that big old
transitioning.
studio.
You know what I'm saying?
Fill people in there.
Right.
But him and Spike are similar in that sense, is that they built their play yards. They built their play yards and they like to play in it.
Yeah.
You know, Spike is kind of similar as at 40 Acres and a Mule. He's kind of same thing. He really produces his content,
own stuff, right?
You know what I mean? Out of his thing. You know, he works and does other stuff with writers and things. But I'm just saying, for the general part, 40 Acres doesn't have a roster of directors per se or whatever. He'll put his name on something, you know. But so they kind of do the same thing, ironically enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I had another point, but I'm gonna hold it because we never talked about the key component to being a good cinematographer.
Okay.
So what would you say with that?
I mean, to me, if you ask me, is understanding color.
That is so interesting. Why do you say that?
Because you're lighting, you're painting, you're just doing it with lights.
You
know what I'm saying? Like there's a difference between if you use these LEDs and some tungstens or some whatever, you know, you're adding more oranges or cold, you know, adding more cooler colors, and just understanding how color to the eye initiates some type of feeling out of a human being. You understand what I'm saying? So like the image that you putting in front of them, you know, and that's the difference when you watch a lot of indie stuff. No knock on indies, because I was indie, but you see that's one of the things that's not paid attention to: color correction, color timing. You know, but to me, color you got to be about color. You know, lighting, of course, obviously the lighting, exposures, and all the other stuff. Understanding your lights and different color temperatures each lights give off, all that stuff. But essentially, you're playing with color, and depending upon the script you're dealing with, depending upon the director you're dealing with, that's also a collaboration with your art director and your prop person and your makeup artist, so that y'all could get the tones down and the face right with the makeup and the lights that you're using. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I like about directing is the collaborative effort that you do with so many people. It's not just you. It's the talent mind that you put together for your project that makes you a good director. Which cinematographer you picked. Do they have a sense of the emotions of the audience that y'all doing this product for? You know what I mean? Things like that. So
love that.
Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah, I'm trying.
I wanted to piggyback a little bit off of something that you said with the Tyler Perry section in terms of finding that balance between the artist and the hustler. The first person that popped in my mind that I feel like did a beautiful job at it and is still somewhat doing it is Jay-Z. And I love him. He's my favorite artist. Well, hip hop artist.
Great with the segues. Boy.
Yes.
Yeah,
but you also worked on Fade to Black.
Yeah.
Which was an iconic album and movie. You know what I'm saying? At the time and just for his career in general. How was that experience?
And what's funny is it's growing in stature more, especially in like the last couple of years. Fade to Black. That Timberland every year, that Timberland.
When he made the Dust Your Shoulders Off beat,
Dust Your Shoulders Off there, and that specific, I shot that with an XL1, by the way, for the techies. Like, that was shot. Yeah. That was shot with XL1, and I wound up shooting with a Panasonic, the DVX.
Yeah, I remember both of those.
The DVX.
Yes.
P2 cars. Yeah. But that was my birthday, my 30th birthday.
Wow.
That day. When I was shooting that was my 30th birthday. That was in Miami. But that to your question though, I had did stuff with Rockefeller, beforehand. I did DJ Clue's his second mixtape. I did his commercial for that. I did Jay-Z's first Blueprint commercial. These were more After Effects graphic stuff. So it wasn't like a full shoot with the artist per se, but I also did Beanie Siegel's EPK. So I was in the Rockefeller circle in that beginning stages. Plus, like, there's the whole clique. Rockefeller has their own hidden what was the movie, the NASA woman?
Hidden Figures.
Hidden Figures.
Yeah.
They got their own little Hidden Figures because there's a group of women that really made Rockefeller what it was in them days. And shout out to Shaka, Omayeli, Darla McIntosh, all them people, because we were all friends before they was doing that. And, so as they transitioned into working with Rockefeller and working with Jay and all that other stuff, I got pulled in. So with that being said, at the time he was supposed to be doing the last album, the Black Album. That was supposed to be his last album. He's going into retirement. So they wanted somebody that they trusted from the inside that could come document the whole making of the album, start to finish. So I got the call. And man, you talk about experiences. I spent about 4 months shooting with Jay, and that was like every day. Watching that whole album, everybody that came in, traveling with him, private jets and helicopters and all that other stuff. And I just really had a chance to just see him, how he operates, how he doesn't write. But most importantly, just how he operates as a businessman. And then having influenced the album in my own way. And how I did that was I got cool with Young Guru. Because, it was mostly a lot of times me and Young Guru in the studio, engineer. And engineered all the Rockefeller albums. So it was a lot of time was spent with me and him in there. So we got down to talk about music and things like that. And we got down to talking about Little Brother. He had mentioned Little Brother. And I was like, oh, I know them cats as my homies because I came out here, did some stuff with them prior to that. And so I linked them two. And then it just dawned on me like, yo, I could get Ninth Wonder to come play some beats for Hove. So I made that link happen. Him and Young Goo, who are like best friends at this point.
Yeah.
Knife wound up coming up playing for Jay, wound up doing Threat.
That's what I was about to say.
Album.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So in my own way, I influenced the Black Album. You know what I mean?
That is so dope, though.
Yeah,
that's so dope. Yeah.
But I mean, that experience was just left and right. Like Beyonce was there all the time. She was hanging out in the studio a lot. It was just times where it was just me and them two sitting in the studio talking, and I had a real chance to see their dynamic. And mind you, this was in the middle of them hiding it.
Yeah.
It was in the middle of, it was a secret at the time. So I built up that much trust because that's when you're documenting, and it was pure verite style. Like I said, I started with an XL1 and then went to Panasonic DVX. And
define what you mean by that verite style.
I'm the fly on the wall. Like I'm not there to be a part of what's happening. I'm only there to document it. So even though I was around all of this stuff, I didn't implant myself in it. You know what I'm saying? I stayed in quiet, riding on a jet. That's how you make the subject feel like you're not there. Essentially, you're not supposed to be there.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's your goal. Especially if you're doing a documentary, you don't want the camera, because the camera has a way of intimidating anybody that goes around. But you don't want that to happen when you're doing verite stuff, because you just kind of want it to feel natural, organic. You know, you're not still. You're moving around, you're bumping here and there and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, and that's what gives it that documentary. Like you were there, fly on the wall. You know what I mean?
Right. A lot of these things that have been happening to you throughout your career were, I mean, aside from the universe putting you in the right place at the right time, it was also about the relationships that you had. Were you consciously aware that you were cultivating those relationships and that you were networking, or was it like just a natural gift for you to do it? Because I struggle. Well, I'm not gonna say that I struggle, but it's not the same. It's not a natural gift for me. It's something that I am consciously aware that I need to do, is network and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right in it. Because I just, all them years of just knowing I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to do that. I'm supposed to do that. I'm supposed to go after that. I need to be in that room. Anybody who kind of like came in my perimeter and they really hit me a certain way, like I found a way to get in the room with them somehow, or they found a way to bring me to that room. Weird is weird, but just is. And it sounds funny to say sometimes or whatever, but I got the track record to prove it. Like I got all like receipts and everything to show, like, and that's why the book is necessary. Right. Get back to a book. But that's why a book is necessary. Do you write?
Like write a book?
Do you like novelists and stuff like that?
I haven't, but I don't know if I told you I just got hired full time at Elon. Did I tell you that?
Oh yeah.
Yes. So a part of my professional service to the university is I had to produce content. A lot of professors that have written books, and they have like a whole 2-3 walls that are full of professors' books. So I feel like God is speaking to me saying now it's time for you to do that, because I have the knowledge and the track record to write a book about it if I wanted to. So I haven't done it, but it's on a list of things to do. Well, add an author to the title. You know what I'm saying? But what I like about books, because I'm getting more and more into understanding business and investing and wealth building and growing my money, is that books are intellectual property that you make money from for the rest of your life. So that's the biggest reason I want a book, is because of intellectual property. Yeah.
And like, if you go in, you're working a book a whole different way, especially like if it's a novel or something like that. Because now when you talk about film, relating it to film, when you talk about a book, now you talk about option rights that you could potentially go out there, do adaptations and all that other stuff. Audio books, a series of book. If it's something visual that's really in your content is something visual, now you can do the coffee table book. You know what I mean? And start branching this thing all around. So that's where I want to be at now. I think at this phase in my life, I really want to be in publishing content. Perfect example was this conversation I had with KRS-One, and he came out with the Bible of hip hop, the Bible hip hop. He has his book, and don't call me, but either he has his book is the Bible hip hop, and
It's his book or somebody else's
book that he that he wrote.
that he's wrote. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said, yo, bro, like at the end of the day, say that book get thrown in the dirt somewhere, like, and somebody pulls it out 100 years from now, after we all done long and gone and all that other stuff, and here it is, the temple of hip hop, the Bible of hip hop. Obviously hip hop, if it's still known at that time, somebody's gonna earth that book and say, wow, like this is was and then look at that as the Bible, and now that book, for whatever that 100 years or whatever, becomes the Bible of of hip hop culture, whatever, because they ain't have the context of knowing whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that same thing with books. They say cinema is forever, but I think books are forever too.
Books are forever.
Yeah. And I still like the medium. I still think it's hope for it.
Yeah.
Maybe not publications and magazines, but.
So speaking of that, because we're transitioning into like what you're doing now, because you put in the work, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I think, and this is another story for another day, we don't have to, that a lot of times young people today not putting in the work. They want to be the king or the queen, but you ain't putting in no work to be the king or the queen, but you put in that work. And now you're at a place where you want to transition to a new level in your life, and you started your own business, and you're going to write your book on the 6 element of hip hop, the lens. But talk to us about that.
Where I'm at now, what I'm doing. Still in the game, still got clients from New York that I work with. Like I said, consultation is what my invoices say mostly lately. Even though I'm, in those consultations, I'm doing production and post-production and directing, producing, stuff like that. But my company, 1012 Media Group, go to the website, 1012media.com. You can contact me. You can see some of the new work that we're doing. We just did stuff with Essence and, still in the game, basically. Still in the game. I found my way, keep my name in the game and get my checks and all that. But another point to what you was asking earlier is just what you need to understand and know is just also, as an artist, understand, especially if you start getting into maybe corporate art stuff or, doing work with clientele and things like that, is understand the pay the pay cycle of working as an artist.
Let's talk about that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's something that rarely is talked about. Everybody thinks you're going to come and be an artist and do their thing, get paid for their stuff. But like, even if you're working with certain companies, you might be on 30-day net, 60-day net, stuff like that, which means you don't get paid for 30 days, 60 days or whatever. In some cases, even more, you might get paid quarterly, depending upon what clientele you're dealing with and all that. So as an artist, you have to get some understanding of working with your finances. You know what I mean? You don't have to keep buying the newest camera every month they come out, you know what I mean? And all that other stuff. Like, get what you need and make that work for you.
I agree with that.
There's more people that get by on less. Make what you have work for you. If you got a VHS camera, make the dopest VHS camera, movie, music video that you possibly can, you know, and learn it. Don't take the time to research and learn, man. Like, I wish I had YouTube when I was a teenager. I wish I had YouTube because you know what it took for me to figure this stuff out? I had to go to a library. I had to go look for owner's manuals. I had to read owner's manuals of whatever programs or whatever camera or whatever to really learn. It wasn't no YouTube tutorial. I could just go
look at the video and somebody tell you how to do it. That is so deep that you said that, because I remember reading owner's manuals too. And it was making me think, one of the mantras that I live by and that I teach is, it doesn't matter what you shoot on, you need to understand composition, you need to understand storytelling, you need to understand all of those elements of what makes a good product. Because you can shoot on the best camera, you can shoot on the red. Your story can still be trash, though. You know what I'm saying?
I know some people went out there and
got
loans for that red camera.
Yeah.
And all that. And, you know, when they came back, it was like, what y'all shooting with?
Right. So, yeah, I agree with that.
And I'll bring up Hype real quick just because, you know, and he did on the DVD commentary of Belly, he says all this himself. So, but he said that he was like, you know, he was so into music videos and stuff when we did, because I worked on Belly. I did extras casting and casting on Belly. Work with the departments. Yeah.
Classic hip hop film.
Yeah, that's a whole, everything has its own story.
Yeah.
But, so working on there, he said it himself, like he's focused so much on the visuals from a music video director angle that he didn't pay attention to the story. What you see in Belly probably is about like 55-60% of what was in the script. Because after a while, a lot of things got scrapped and fights and things and $4,000 rims disappearing and all this.
Wow.
But anyway, but yeah, so it's that I guess I said that to say, just, you know, pay attention to everything happening on all angles. Don't just be just the artist. Don't just be just the hustler. You know, find a way where you're honoring the craft of the medium of art that you're dealing with, and still hustle enough to find the angle to get the checks and get good clientele. It's all about clientele.
Let me ask you this before we move to the next segment, because you didn't go to school for film. No. You went to the School of Hard Knocks for it. What do you suggest? Let me preface, because, you know, I'm a professor. And I went to school. And it's all good. No. Listen, it's all good, because I tell people all the time, you don't need school. If you know what you want to do, go do it.
Creative.
Yeah. If you know what you want to do, go do it.
Yeah.
I think school is a safe haven for people. I think it's a place, if you don't know what you want to do with your life, it gives you time to think about it. You know what I'm saying? And discover things. You know what I mean?
That's a hefty bill to pay.
It's a hefty bill. But I see a lot of students that are that way. You know what I'm saying? And I was that student, because it was just like a lot of times people are just telling you, go to school, like your family. Nobody in your family went to school, but go to school and get a degree. But they tell you what college is really about. You know? But so what's your sentiments on that? Because you are a beautiful example of not going to school but still being able to have a career. Yeah.
I think it worked at one point. I don't think it's, you know, where we going now, things it's not. And then honestly, like it's economics to me. You spending $100,000, you know what you can get for $100,000. You know what camera setup you can get. You know what editing setup you can get. You know how much you could put towards a production where you're learning on hand. Like, you know what I mean? That's my philosophy. If I had $100,000, I wouldn't go to school. I put that money towards getting stuff, because you're gonna wind up doing the same thing anyway.
You are.
When I interned on Clockers, I went to the test with film majors and all of them, and still got the internship.
Yeah.
And still was even after the internship, still in the same spot where they were, you know, spending all this money and stuff. Where essentially, man, you just got to be in it. You want to direct. We all got phone cameras now. We all got 4K cameras in our pocket now. You know what I mean? We all got free editing softwares and Instagram pictures, things, editing this and that, and all this access to all this stuff now. You just got to be doing it, because that's where you're going to learn.
That is where you're going to learn.
That's where you're going to learn. You're going to learn philosophy in school, but like at the end of the day, they're going to throw you out there. And you in the same battle that the average person trying to get a PA spot, an internship spot. You know what I mean? Going through the same ups that the people that didn't go to film school you're going to be right there with them. So,
yeah,
you know, even in television and film, I was side by side with these film students, and all of them. We in the same spot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's about what end you have and what drive you have, you know?
That's exactly what I was gonna say. It's the hustle. You know what I'm saying? Like I think a lot of times people think, oh, because I went to school, I'm supposed to be special, but it's just like, but the person who didn't go to school is out hustling you. They the first ones there, the last one to leave. You know what I'm saying? They are learning on their own at home. You know what I'm saying? Like they're putting in that work. So it's like you got to have that, the drive, the hustle, the ambition, the determination, the persistence, all of those things you have to have. And that stuff cannot be taught to you.
No.
That's something that you have to find within yourself.
I'll give you a quick example, not to cut you, but
no, go ahead.
And you won't bleep this, but I clean shit out of a toilet on the clocker set.
We're not bleeping at that. People need to know that.
I cleaned shit out of a toilet as an intern, and I loved it.
And why?
And I loved it because I was in the middle of what I was doing. I was in my element and all that. Can't have a shitty smelling set.
Yeah.
So somebody had to do it. I'm the intern. I understood my position.
Understood your position. That was key right there.
Understood my position. I humbled myself.
Right.
And I cleaned this shit out the toilet.
Right.
And 30 years later, I'm still here. So.
Exactly.
Yeah. So go to your point, drive.
Yeah.
If you want it, and let me be clear, if you want it, you don't have to sell yourself out to get it. But if you want it, you have to position yourself somewhere, not to be obsessive, but you have to be about it. You have to be into what it is that what you're doing, because that's what's going to give you the energy and the drive to find the answers out. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To seek it.
Yeah.
You can't seek it if you don't want it. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So like you gotta be in it, like, every day thinking about it, and it finds a way for you when you're in your groove of that. I don't even know if I answered any of your questions.
You totally answered it. You totally answered it.
Talking
no.
Place,
it was great. It was great. And I was gonna say too, and we're gonna go to the next thing. But yeah, you're totally right. I totally agree. People needed to hear that because that's a real thing. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's like an entitlement spirit in the world right now. And people think, oh, I'm just supposed to get it. Like, no, like you got to put in the work like everybody else. But I was going to say one more thing though, with college though, because I thought about it later. I tell my students, which is something I got from Russell Simmons, college is designed to teach you how to think, not what to think. And I think it helps you understand how to operate your brain. Now, it doesn't give you the drive or the ambition or the hustle, but it does help you understand how to do that.
Some people
and I think
need
that's
it.
important. And some people need that.
Some
I think it's
people need
important.
it. Yeah.
Some people don't. But you got to recognize your own strengths and weaknesses as who you are and move forward accordingly. And then don't get mad when you go to college but things are not panning out the way you want them to because you're not putting in the work to make them. Anything in life comes to you because you have to work for it. It doesn't just come to you unless you got things that we don't got. You know what I'm saying?
Unless
and even then, it still comes with a price. It still comes with a price, But anyway, so I want to transition to what we call in the playbook now.
All right.
Where we give the 5 practical steps
to
get into this industry. So what was your playbook consist of?
All right. First playbook is understand that every single person has their own path. It's just a fact. Like, every you talk to 5 different people, you get 5 different stories on how everybody got in. Location. Let's be straight up about that. You gotta be where the work is at. You gotta be where the opportunity is at. You gotta be where the end and the people and all that. Cause at the end of the day, like I said earlier, you gotta be in it. And I was about to tie in number 2, which is connect with the right people. Find your tribe. It's cliquish in any of these games out here. I ain't here to bullshit y'all. Like, it's cliquish. You got, friends want to work with friends. You know what I mean? So, you get a lot of the nepotism. I don't hate it as much because if I'm hiring people, I want to hire people that I'm cool with. You spending days at a time with these people on sets and stuff like that. You want to get along. And essentially, having been a director and a producer, I've run teams. I've had full production teams. And, it's a band. It's like putting a band together. You know what I mean? Like, you get your ukulele player and your ill electric guitar might sound crazy, but if you know how to work it right, they work right. You know what I mean? So who is very important. Positioning. Position yourself around the right people, because you can position yourself around the wrong people and go down a dead hill too. 5.
Wait a minute, you done jumped.
I know. No. Well, I'm saying 5 in my head. I'm trying to come up with 5 things.
Because let's recap. First thing you said was understand who you are. You didn't say it like that, but essentially that's what you were saying.
Yeah, just understand who you are
and what you're trying to do. I know the second was location.
Intent.
Location,
so let's call one intent.
Intent.
Let's call one intent.
Okay, understand the intention of what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Yes, why exactly. Yeah.
Number 2 was location. 3
was positioning.
3 was
so let's say 3 is positioning. But connection positioning.
Yeah.
But positioning
with the clicks.
Yeah. Because like I said, it really is clickish. I mean, a lot of work even that I get to today is, because I've worked with certain teams, and then you graduate. You know what I mean? Like when you're a class of, when you come into a room that's already been moving and all that, you're coming in as whatever your class or your ever, right? So the people that you come in with, like my boy that came in when we interned together, Cliff Charles. He's a DP now. He did Shotters and did stuff with Spike and all that. We came in the same class. So we all came up, and it was interesting to see where he went, interesting to see where I went. But these are the people you grow up with too. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, if you're liking a specific culture or whatever, or, community or whatever, just positioning, because it's who you linking with. They graduate, and then they bring you with you if you have a good rapport with that people, or you bring people up with you, if you have the opportunity.
I feel like you were on fire, but just to recap, because I feel like you were on fire. Number 1 was intention. Know what you want to do, why you want to do it. Number 2, location.
Yeah.
Number 3 was find your tribe. Number 4 was graduate from that tribe.
Yeah.
And number 5.
Yeah. And to the graduation point, you got to watch, because you can get stuck following somebody else's vision. You know what I'm saying? I want to make the 5th one a doozy. Be professional. Yes. Be on time. Like, I mean, just be on time. Like, just be on time.
Yeah.
Just be on time. First and foremost, learn how to be. If you could be on time, you can figure all that other stuff out too. Just be on time. Understand, like, especially when you're dealing with crews and stuff, and the older you get, you're dealing with people staying away from their families, and and then people need these things to make a living for themselves. They gotta pay their rents, they gotta, all that outside of the creativity that they're there to help you with, or whatever. So just be respectful of people's time.
Yeah. So speaking of that, because it's your 30-year anniversary of being in the game, what do you think is the key?
November.
What is the key to longevity?
It's being humble. Being humble, because everything ain't about a check. You might have to do a freebie here and there, or I don't want to call it freebie, because if you're getting some out of it, you're getting some out. But it ain't always got to be about a check. You might need to help somebody, take the sword to the elf, and the elf give you the tablet so that you could take it over to, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you might have to be part of that. A lot of times I learned that some of the paths that you're supposed to be on is supposed to be about helping other people.
That's a word.
Being a widget to somebody else's machine. But that takes you to another level. So yeah, and be humble and just have vision. It goes back to what I said before, intent. What are you doing this for? Why are you here? Like, you just doing this because you ain't got nothing else to do? If you doing this, are you doing this for legacy? Like, the word legacy is in my life a lot lately. So a lot of things that I look to do, all have to have some play into my legacy at this point. Why are you here? What are you doing? Like, what purpose do you serve? And serve that purpose, you know what I mean, to the fullest and the best way possible. And do it with as much respect and dignity as possible. You know what I mean? But it's friendships, getting with the right people, back to a lot of things that I'm just referring to, a lot of things I said, positioning, you know what I mean? Being around the right cliques, around the right people. Don't burn no bridges. You're going to deal with in this industry, whether it's music, television, publication, film, whatever, you going to be dealing with some stuff. Yeah. All different. You're going to be dealing with the whole gamut spectrum of conceit to, down to you find you some cool people. You know what I'm saying? So you dealing with that whole spectrum, and it goes into that Jay-Z line, knowing how to move in a room full of vultures. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be in rooms full of vultures.
Right.
And a lot of people, if you get triggered easy and this and that, you just find something else to do. You know what I mean? But you just gotta learn to kind of have a tough skin to things.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, brother.
Yes.
This has been beautiful and informing. And
I apologize.
I love
know
it.
We all over the place.
No, it's all good. I feel like everything that we talked about was relevant information. And if you are a person who's trying to get into this field or just any industry, really, a lot of the things that you said were key. I mean, details is important in any profession that you're in. And that's how you get caught slipping, because you ain't paying attention to the details. You know what I'm saying? So I think you dropped a lot of jewels for the people. That's going to be very much so appreciated. You know, I feel like everybody's looking forward to the book. I think saying that the lens is the sixth element of hip hop is ingenious. And I feel like people will really gravitate towards that.
Well, we're at the beginning stages of that movement. Right. We're in beginning stage because, like I said, you got some things in the works. We're at the beginning stages of that.
But thank you again for coming on the show.
Yes.
I actually wanted to start doing something. I wanted to start saying a quote at the end of the show.
What's the quote?
So,
something uplifting, something that I'm going to take and I'm going to walk out this room and I'm going to go and change the world with.
Okay.
Come on, put all that pressure on you. Go now.
It wasn't going to be that deep. I'm trying to think of a Jay-Z line to quote. and the biggest thing that popped in my head, well, two of them. One popped in my head was, because you said, show them how to move in a room full of vultures. Yeah. Industry shady, it need to be taken over.
Yes.
The other thing was, what I learned from that passionate debate that I had the other day was, a wise man told me don't argue with fools. Yes. Because people from a distance can't tell who is who.
Facebook made me really hone down that rule.
Yeah.
Facebook made me really hone down. And I refer to that line every time. Be like, yo, do not argue with fools.
Yeah. Okay, I got a better one. That was good. We keep that.
All right. Go ahead.
In relation to what I was saying earlier with the college thing that I actually got from Russell Simmons, the godfather of hip hop, is that college is designed to teach you how to think, not what to think. We'll go with that. We'll end with that. So I am your host, Watricia Schuler. This has been another edition of the Artist Block Podcast. And tune in next time.